Even though this has already been one of the most exciting NBA seasons in recent history, there are still some major disappointments that have left a sour mood in some organizations. I've already made a video about the Atlanta Hawks and how key injuries and player regressions have caused them to be at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Apparently, I was the only one who thought that the Hawks had a chance of being at the top of the East, considering how it's pretty much up for grabs. I admit, I may have had a little Dyson delusion because I was certain Dyson Daniels would be an all-star this year, but that just hasn't been the case. Anyway, one of the biggest disappointments over the past couple of years has been the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, this was the classic case of a really great regular season team getting exposed when the postseason comes around. Who could forget back in 2022 when Ja Morant confidently claimed that the Boston Celtics were the only threat in the entire NBA to the Grizzlies and that no one in the West was the issue? For context, they finished the prior season 56-26 and boasted a top 4 net rating in the NBA, so they had some reason to be confident, but this turned out to be more of a curse than anything. A couple months later, Morant channeled his inner NBA youngboy and decided to flex a firearm on Instagram Live. Not sure what led Ja to make an honest mistake like that. Oh, he ended up flashing another gun on Live not even 2 months later? Yikes. By the end of the 22-23 season, they were second in the West for a second straight year and again boasted a top 4 net rating in the NBA, but found themselves in Cancun even earlier than the year prior. The Lakers sent the Grizz home after a 6-game series, and after another early playoff exit, a lot of questions started circulating around the team. Dillon Brooks, aka Dylan the Villain, was blamed as being the reason why the Grizzlies ultimately lost this series. His trash-talking antics to get under LeBron's skin only gave the King another reason to prove his dominance, and Brooks simply couldn't match the output. The Grizzlies organization came to a conclusion that Brooks was a thorn in their sides and that he was holding them back, so they traded him in July of 2023. It's funny that the attitude that Brooks brought to the grit and grind culture of the Grizzlies to help shape their identity and allowed them to be dominant in the regular season from 2021 to 2023 was the very thing that led him to becoming their scapegoat for their postseason failures. The Grizzlies also shocked the league when they fired their head coach Taylor Jenkins right before the postseason. They were 44-29 at the time and close to clinching a playoff berth, but reports claim that multiple disagreements had soured the mood between Jenkins and the team. Now in 2026, Dillon Brooks has proven himself to be a reliable two-way wing that's averaging 22 points per game on 45% from the field and looks to be in Phoenix for the long term. Checking back in on Memphis, and it honestly isn't looking too good. The Grizzlies are currently 9th in the West with an embarrassing net rating that isn't even positive. Ja has been battling injuries and is trying to get back to being consistent while ignoring any off-court distractions. Jaren Jackson Jr. got a crazy $240 million 5-year extension from Memphis this past July, but his output seems to be trending downwards. The Memphis Grizzlies have a couple of first-round picks over the next few years, and they have some young, promising talent that could help turn things around in the future. For now, the Grizzlies will have to be fine with getting belt from the West and the rest of the NBA in hopes that they'll increase their odds in the draft lottery. The Orlando Magic looked as if they were going to pose a serious threat to any of the top Eastern Conference teams for years to come, but that dream ended early last season. After a near 50-point triple-double that Paolo Banchero recorded early last year versus the Pacers, it was clear he was ready to take that next step. 2 games later, though, he tore his right oblique muscle and was sidelined for a month. Orlando was already in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, and losing that star player only made the future that much darker. There was some light after all, after Franz Wagner stepped up and helped the Magic win 11 of their 16 games in November after Paolo's injury. Wagner was averaging 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists while shooting above 45% from the field in November and December last year. It looked as if the Magic would be able to hold things down while Paolo was out, but tragedy struck again. Wagner ends up being sidelined for the same exact injury that Paolo was dealing with, and now both of their young stars are out. Despite the challenges they faced, the duo still managed to average 24 plus points per game, 5 assists, and 6 plus rebounds individually, and appeared as if they would be a force in the East. Fans began to invest in Paolo's development so much so that they began wondering if he was better than OKC Thunder champ Jalen Williams. Back then, fans were unsure that Williams could be a second option next to SGA due to his inconsistency, but fans weren't aware that Williams was battling a wrist injury. Honestly, I thought this comparison was a bit of a reach due to both players having different roles for their respective teams, but I'm sure people will lean towards Williams now. The Magic are currently 19-15, which places them at 6th in the Eastern Conference, but the injury bug is still looming. Wagner suffered a leg injury this past week, and sadly there's no timetable for his return yet. Paolo has returned recently after battling a left groin strain that kept him out for a couple games. Jalen Suggs has been beat up pretty much all season as he's dealing with back spasms, a left hip contusion, and knee issues which will keep him out indefinitely. Orlando does have 1 first round and 2 second round picks for 2026 and 2027, so their future isn't completely dark. The Magic's focus moving forward should be the long-term health of their key players. Anthony Black and Desmond Bane have been the key contributors for this team and have really stepped up over these past 5 games. From NBA Finals to being in final place in the Eastern Conference, the Indiana Pacers have fallen far from the light. Now, obviously, we knew this team wasn't going to be the powerhouse they were last season after Tyrese Halliburton being out for the season, but damn! I honestly thought that the combined efforts from players like Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, TJ McConnell, Aaron Nesmith, and Ben Mathurin, they would at least hang around 5th or 6th in the East, but it's been a disaster. Let's not forget, though, that when Halliburton was healthy, this team was literally historic in the biggest moments of their season. The Pacers knocked out the Bucks in the first round, demolished the number 1 seeded Cavs, and then beat the number 3 seeded Knicks, with each series featuring a team effort of clutch performances from Indiana. They took the Oklahoma City Thunder 7 games in the finals and had a good chance of winning that game if Halliburton didn't get hurt. It just goes to show how valuable Halliburton is to this team and how his availability literally makes or breaks this organization. Looking over their team stats from last season, there's nothing that really jumps out at you either, but since they connected so well on the court, the stats are almost misleading. This season is clearly over for the Indiana Pacers, and they have a big question looming over their organization right now. Can Tyrese Halliburton return to that same player he was last season? With those key pieces I mentioned earlier, the Pacers still have a solid foundation to build on once Halliburton returns. With their own first round pick and 2 second round picks in this upcoming draft, tanking doesn't sound too bad. With a pretty loaded draft this year, Indiana should focus on drafting a big man after Miles Turner left them this summer. So what team have you been disappointed by over the years or this season? Feel free to comment down below any teams or players that I may have missed, and I'll gladly make a second part to this video. Oh, by the way, I'm still disappointed that there isn't just one streaming service to watch all NBA games. I know it'll never happen, but I can still dream, right?